My name is Jesse Hamilton. I joined the Army in 1998. Spent 4 years with the 101st Airborne Division. I served as a 13 Foxtrot forward observer. During my time there, I got out and joined the reserves, spent about 3 years as a drill sergeant, and then I decided I was going to volunteer to go to Iraq and serve as an advisor to the Iraqi Army. At the time I volunteered, I was completely against the war. I thought that it was unjust, but I thought that in order to help expedite our exodus from that nation, that I really needed to do everything I could and serve in any capacity I could over there to help that cause. I've lost friends in Iraq, Americans and Iraqi. I'm not up here to say anything bad about the U.S. soldiers or about the Iraqi people, the Iraqi soldiers. I also want to say that my testimony is just based on the things that I saw in one battalion in Fallujah in the Al-Anbar province of Iraq from 2005 to 2006. And I could sit up here and give my opinion about the U.S. ROE all day, but I think that my brothers in arms up here have done a good job in portraying that. I worked as as part of a 10-man team while I was in Iraq, so I really didn't have the opportunity to serve with a lot of different U.S. Soldiers and Marines over there. I did have the opportunity to work with a lot of the Iraqi forces that are over there. And if you want my opinion as to whether or not rules of engagement actually exist within the Iraqi Army, the answer is no. From what I saw, the Iraqis show little or no restraint in discharging their weapons. Fallujah is obviously a city. It was populated with civilians at the time, and the fact that the Iraqis showed little or no restraint, add the civilians into that, it created a dangerous mix. We had some phrases. I'm sure that there are a lot of soldiers and Marines out there who were in the cities who worked with the Iraqi Army would recognize these phrases, spray and pray, where the Iraqis would just start shooting and pray that it hit the enemy if there was one. The death blossom was also a term that we used regularly, because once the shooting started, death would blossom all around. I never saw any civilians get killed by these actions, but one incident sticks out in my mind. I lived out in the city, and the whole time that I was in Iraq and on an Iraqi firm base, and the enemy would take pop shots at us. They would shoot RPGs at us. We would get mortared, and as soon as something like that would happen, the Iraqi guards on the roof would just start a barrage of fire. It didn't matter where the fire had initially come from, or even if it was just mortars or a combination. They would just start shooting. I ran up to the roof one day, and I was trying to see, if there was an enemy, and if so, where that enemy was. I couldn't see any incoming fire at the time. It was daylight, but I did see the Iraqis just shooting indiscriminately, and that was normal. I saw a civilian just running, and the wall that she was running in front of was just being pattered by bullets. The Iraqis weren't shooting at her. I know that for a fact. They weren't aiming at her. They were just shooting indiscriminately. And again, that's where that dangerous mix comes in. I think that more disturbing than the lack of discipline and rules of engagement shown by the Iraqi Army is their treatment of their own people. The Iraqis, and this is not to say that they're bad, They just have a different culture than we do. They have different morals. I made a lot of good friends while I was over there, and I respect their way of life. But that's not to say that I agree with the way they handle things. But then again, that's not to say that that's wrong. It's just the way they are. The Iraqis can be very brutal. We would take in prisoners oftentimes. Sometimes it wouldn't even be on a mission where we were going out with them. The Iraqis would conduct presence patrols and often bring people in for questioning. And, you know, they weren't overly nice, but they weren't overly brutal in those situations. When we took casualties, Iraqi casualties, that's really when the tides turned. I saw Iraqi soldiers just make the prisoners more or less run the gauntlet from the vehicle that they were being transported into our firm base to where they would be questioned in the S2 intelligence office. Our job as American advisors in situations like that was to try our best to stop that, and we did. However, there's only so much you can do in situations like that, and you can't prevent it all. And not only that, that was just the things that we saw. I mean, we weren't there for when those prisoners, you know, initially got picked up. And more times than not, the guys that they were bringing in after situations like that were getting released after, you know, short questioning. I stated before that the U.S. policy, the guidelines that we operated by, was to try and stop, to the best of our ability, the Iraqis from, you know, negligently discharging their weapons, mishandling, you know, prisoners, you know, beating the prisoners. And I said that can only go so far. And I think that sort of policy, especially in the advisory role, really opens up the situation to the advisors becoming apathetic. We're normal people, you know, just like everybody in this audience. You know, we're sons, we're brothers, you know, some are fathers. We're just ordinary people that decided to pick up a uniform and serve this nation. And you can only take so much when people take pop shots at you, shoot RPGs at your house, mortar you. It begins to wear down on your mind. And I think that creates the apathy. And after a while, you know, I was almost like, I don't care, I'm over it, when it came to that. And I tried to stop it, but, you know, I just stopped caring. It was their people, and, you know, that's what they were going to do. The Iraqi army did make improvements while we were there. I saw these improvements. However, one thing remains static, and that is the way that they treated their people. And I think that the way they treat their own is a function of their culture. And our culture as Americans, you know, we've been here doing our thing for about 300 years. The Iraqis have been doing their thing for thousands, and I think it is very pretentious of us as Americans to think that we can go in there and spoon-feed them democracy and have them appreciate that democracy. I think it's even more pretentious to try to go in there and to try and change their culture and the way they handle situations. I think that it is a lost cause in Iraq. I think that regardless of when we leave, whether it is tomorrow or in 100 years, I think that the Iraqis, as soon as we leave that country, are going to handle things the way that they're going to handle them. And the way they handle things, that's just the way things are going to pan out. It's their culture, it's their country. We're, allegedly giving them democracy, so let's give it to them. And let's let them do what they want with their country and their lives. And I just think at this point, given my experience working, living, speaking in Arabic with my Iraqi counterparts, getting to know them and getting to care about them, and just my history, my friends who are in the military, the U.S. military, that is. I just don't think that it's worth it for to continue losing American lives, to continue, what we now see in hindsight as a pretty big mistake. And I just don't think it's worth it. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for listening.